The idea of being an undefeated fighter is undeniably cool. You have conquered everyone in your path, and that 0 next to your record is a permanent indication of that. There have been quite a few undefeated boxers with sizable records. Rocky Marciano, Joe Calzaghe, and of course, the man who simultaneously popularized and ruined the idea of being an undefeated boxer, Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is arguably the most influential modern boxer of all time, and he has shaped the landscape of the sport. At least from a business perspective. He promoted his own fights, he played the boxing heel, and attracted many viewers in the process. During the Money Mayweather phase of his career, the most important promotional tool he used was his perfect undefeated record. People would watch Mayweather fight just because they wanted to see him lose. That 0 on his record became a staple of the Mayweather brand. He collects the money, he fights smart, and he doesn't lose. The undefeated record that Mayweather touted has ruined boxing today though. Boxing promoters witnessed Mayweather putting so much emphasis on being undefeated, and as a result, boxers have padded records and certain mega fights don't get made. In their eyes, it's more important for a fighter to be undefeated than to fight the best opposition. But there's one aspect regarding Mayweather's perfect record that they're ignoring. Mayweather's 50-0 undefeated record is more significant than others because he fought over 20 world champions throughout his career, and Mayweather being great is not inherently due to him having 0 losses. Jake Paul can fight tomato cans and achieve a 50-0 record, but it doesn't mean anything because of the caliber of opponents, and that's what boxing promoters and fighters need to get through their heads. Stop protecting undefeated fighters from high-level opposition, because without those big wins on their resume, 0 losses doesn't mean much. Mayweather's record is significant because he put his undefeated streak on the line. And he beat Castillo, De La Hoya, Hatton, Marquez, Sugar Shane Mosley, Maidana, Pacquiao, Canelo, Andre Berto, and more. Going up and down, chasing world titles in all different weight classes, mind you. You can criticize Mayweather cherry-picking his opponents and fighting these world champions before or after their prime, but his resume remains very solid. The undefeated record holds up because of the names he has beaten. Manny Pacquiao probably has a better resume overall than Mayweather, but the 50-0 record plus world champion caliber of opponents equals Floyd being considered the greatest boxer in the past 30 years. Boxing promoters that don't set up tough matchups for their fighters and shield them because they risk losing their undefeated record are missing the point of what made Mayweather great. Take Gervonta Davis for example. He has never lost a fight in his professional career, but his resume doesn't hold up at all. Being undefeated doesn't automatically make you a draw or make you a great fighter, and I'm sick of fans, boxing promoters, and fighters alike thinking that it does. I'm not saying that Tank isn't a good fighter, but his resume doesn't back that claim up. Usyk has a brilliant undefeated resume by comparison, and he has less fights than Tank. In 10 fights, he's already a cruiserweight world champion. In 15 fights, he's undisputed in the cruiserweight division. In 20 fights, he moved up to heavyweight, unified the belts, and defended them against Anthony Joshua. Usyk is not only undefeated, but the level of opponents he's faced is very high, and he has unified the belts in 2 separate divisions. I know that Usyk has way more experience than Tank, but the latter is in his prime right now and should be climbing up the ranks more. Let's imagine for a second that Usyk lost to like his second pro fight or whatever, but then he went on to still do everything that I just mentioned. Not being undefeated wouldn't tarnish those achievements in the slightest. Being undefeated isn't all that if you're not challenging yourself. It's about who you fight in your career that really matters. Usyk isn't the only boxer at the moment that's putting his undefeated record on the line. Look at what Bivol was doing, Katie Taylor as well. Look at what Lomachenko did before he lost, Josh Taylor, all in the span of 20 fights or less. If we go back to Tank, he is a world champion not fighting top tier opponents. So what does his undefeated record count for then? I'm not trying to slate Tank or any fighters that have padded records with no losses. I'm just using him to illustrate the point that being undefeated isn't impressive by itself. Fighting mandatory after mandatory after mandatory doesn't get fans engaged, and you aren't leaving a defining legacy like Mayweather. A boxer's actual resume and achievements are way more important, and if a boxer retires undefeated, then that's just the cherry on top. Anthony Joshua has losses on his record, but his resume is still very solid. He's dared to be great, and he's fought the highest level of opponents in less than 20 fights. That being said, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think we are slowly reaching a point where the whole undefeated stigma is going away, and we are getting big fights that we want. Fighters should be able to lose without being viewed as scrubs after, and I think it's partly the fans' responsibility to ensure that isn't the case. Anyway, we are getting mega fights featuring boxers that aren't undefeated. Case in point, AJ fought Usyk. Look at what Canelo has done after his loss to Mayweather back in 2013. There are plenty of exceptions to the rule, but boxers and promoters being so protective of their perfect records is still a huge problem.